Okay, this is now tarot lesson number 159. Today, two things. One is shortcuts and the second is Tableau. So, if I ask you the question, name a famous musician, singer, songwriter who revolutionized popular music in the 1960s, one name that comes to mind is John Lennon, right? So the answer to that question might be John Lennon. So if I then say, who had an airport in the north of England named after him? And again, it's John Lennon, because it's John Lennon Airport in Liverpool. If I say the question is, which famous individual married a Japanese artist and half the people liked it and half the people hated it? And again, the answer is John Lennon. So it's to make the point that when I say John Lennon, I don't need to say John Lennon, who was born on this date in Liverpool and he grew up there. I don't need to give you all the details so that you can identify who I'm talking about. And in a way, a name is a kind of shortcut to the whole history of that individual. And with details you may know, details you may not know. But when I let's say your name is, I don't know, whatever your name is. If I say hello, whatever, I don't need to say hello, you person who are X number of years old. I don't need to give you all the details. So we use words and names as shortcuts. And the reason I'm going on like this is because we've got tarot cards. The star card, what's that? The shortcut of. So the star card comes up. And in the same way that John Lennon can be a musician, singer, songwriter who revolutionized popular music, who had an airport named after him, who married a famous Japanese artist, and maybe it was a good move. Well, it was a good move for him, but that's all a shortcut. So what other ideas are contained within the star card? It shows, well, maybe you take it, it's a star, so you're going to become famous, or you want to become famous, or if you try to become famous or well known, it's going to work. And people will take you seriously, you'll be respected, you'll be enjoyed because the star is upright. Whereas if it's upside down, maybe you want to go in that direction, but it's not going to work, or you're going to come across obstacles that may or may not stop you. Because some people, they come to an obstacle and they look on it as a stepping stone to new strength, new ability. Other people come to an obstacle and give up. So we don't know from the star card if you're going to persevere and keep going and overcome the obstacle, or whether the obstacle is going to stop you in your tracks. So I'm making this point about shortcuts so that when you look at any card, I didn't mean to do that. When you look at, I was looking for a minor trump. If you look at coins, you've got the suit of coins, which is a shortcut for money, what you care about, values, what you're going to spend money on, what you're going to buy, what you agree or disagree with other people about what's worth having, what's worth getting, what's worth buying. It's advertising maybe, because people try to talk you into buying something that you may or may not need. So you've got a whole lot of different related ideas contained within this Four of Pentacles. So when you turn a card, rather than think, what does it mean? There's one meaning. Think of it, when you turn the card, you're given a shortcut, or you're seeing a shortcut that can take you to multiple different destinations, or can lead you to multiple different conclusions. So rather than turn a card and be kind of limited and stuck in what you think about the card and what it means, remember it's a shortcut. And it can lead you to a whole wide range of related activities, because John Lennon is John Lennon. And so we've got songwriting partnership with Paul McCartney. So we're not mentioning Paul McCartney when we talk about John Lennon, but maybe we could. Maybe we talk about he was a member of a phenomenally successful group in the 60s who toured the world and had success at people that was unprecedented. So an example is that Brian Epstein, the manager, when the Beatles went to the States first, somebody offered him a contract for merchandise for the Beatles, and I think it was something like Brian Epstein agreed to a $10,000 payment, a one-time payment of $10,000 to give the person rights to Beatles merchandise. And $10,000 at the time seemed like a lot of money, but the person who got the contract ended up making tens of millions of dollars. So it was a terrible move on Brian Epstein's part, but he had no way of knowing, nobody had any way of knowing that they were going to become the phenomenon that they did become. So shortcuts. The second point is somebody left a comment asking for a tableau. And so I'm going to give you an example of a tableau where you lay out a lot of cards and then you make sense of the ones that show up. So it's a bit like you've got rows across, and one row can it depends what you want. If you want to know about the future, then the first row would be the present, and all the other rows above it would be the future. Whereas maybe you want to know, you've got 5 rows where you've got 2 that represent the past, 1 that's for the present, and 2 for the future. It depends what you want to know. The other thing is, if you remember the horoscope, the left is sunrise, the right is sunset. So when you've got 5 cards in a row, the card up here for the future is something that's just beginning, whereas cards up here are for the past, the present, or the future are what's passing away, what's reasonably complete. And I'll get to that in a minute. So if you're going to do this, it's probably a good idea to have a significator card where you pick a card that represents the questioner. So ideally, I think, there's the King of Pentacles is the significator card. And what you do is, that's a significator, you shuffle, you lay out all the deck, and then depending on where that card falls, that's the significator, that's where you begin. So maybe if the significator is down here in the past, then okay, mostly it's about the present and the future. But the significator card could come up here in the future, passing away. So it's a bit like this would represent a lot has been achieved, a lot's been accomplished, but now it's maybe time to begin again, because if you keep doing what you've been doing, it's not going to work. It's not going to develop into anything, because the significator card appeared in the future. So I'm going to take this as the significator card, and I'm going to put it here. I laid out this spread before, and so I'm sort of not exactly cheating, but that's a significator card because I need to have it somewhere, and I can't lay out the whole deck. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This ought to all show up. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the past. That's the present. And these, I'm going to have 2 more here for the future. That, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now what we do is we turn each card. I suppose I'm going to turn all of them. And because these 5 cards here represent the past and what this King of Pentacles has gone through, or what has happened to the King of Pentacles, the experiences that this person has had. And you can look that this is directly below. So this can be the immediate past. Whereas this High Priestess reversed is off to the side. So it can be not a direct influence, but an indirect influence. And here we've got the Three of Cups, another indirect influence. So you look at each row. So that's the past. We've got a little bit of conflict, strength developing. So it could have defeated him, but it made him stronger. The Queen of Cups, somebody who maybe pointed out what he was doing wrong. The High Priestess reversed can be behind the scenes activity that he didn't know about that was more influential than he thought. And then the Three of Cups can be an urge to celebrate, maybe to celebrate too soon because the High Priestess is beside it. So we've got a number of different events or people or conditions happening in the past. Now we've got the present position, and I've got it in the middle just because I needed to begin somewhere. And so we've got what's going on in the present. We've got the devil, which can be that he is limited in what he can do, a certain amount of disappointment, poverty, and so things. We've got the king here, and we've got the five beside it. So he's got ideas and he wants to run things, but it's like difficulty in the beginning. And then the Ace of Swords reversed. He needs to cut. That can be people or ideas or habits so that he frees up new possibilities for the future. And what does the future look like? We've got the Six of Swords reversed, the Ten of Batons, the Knight of Cups reversed. The Knight of Cups, the Four of Batons. So the immediate future is this row. And the more distant future, I may as well turn it now, is this one. And so you look at and see what you've got and begin to tell stories or to identify threads or identify routes that the King of Pentacles or the significator card could follow. And remember the idea of shortcuts, so that each card isn't just one thing, it's multiple different possibilities. So and we're sort of fortune telling, I suppose, but we're looking and making sense of it. So what do we do here? We've got the Queen of Cups. Maybe we take it a bit at a time to get the Queen of Cups reversed and the King of Pentacles. This can be somebody who was in opposition to the king. So let's see, I'm going to say you. It's not you, but it's easier to talk about that. So you would say to the questioner, it looks like somebody in your past gave you a hard time, but it had a good outcome because you became the King of Pentacles, you became upright. So they helped you understand what you care about, or they talked you out of buying something and it ended up being a good move. Either you bought it anyway because it's coins for buying stuff. Either you bought it anyway and it worked out well, or you're glad that you disagreed with that person, or you agreed with them and you're glad that you didn't buy the thing. So that's one way of looking at these two. On the other hand, we've got the Strength card, and the Strength card behind or as a foundation in some way for the King of Pentacles. So you are stronger. You're a king, you're in charge, you know what you're doing, you know what you're about, you know what you want to do, partly because you developed strength. There were challenges before and you overcame them, or you allowed the challenges and the difficulties to make you strong because the Strength card is here. At the same time, we've got the High Priestess. You were strong, but you missed certain important ideas or certain important things or people or conditions. You misunderstood, or you assumed things were one way, but they were actually a different way because the High Priestess is upside down. In some ways, it didn't matter because the Three of Cups is beside it. So you may not have known, but it didn't destroy you. It didn't mess you up. So we can then go, so if this is the king here, what's happening next? And we go directly above it. We've got the Knight of Cups upright. So we've got a queen here reversed and a knight upright. So whatever this person told you or advised or suggested or whatever their opposition was, it's going to get better. And the thing is, when you talk like that, the questioner is going to know what you mean. You don't need to tell them that it was a brother-in-law or a sister-in-law and they wanted you to behave a certain way and you didn't. But if this Queen of Cups reversed represents an argument with a sister-in-law, it's going to get better. So if you're concerned about not that the sister-in-law is going to hold it against you or hold a grudge, they're not, because either you change, you're represented by a Knight of Cups, or things happen and the sister-in-law understands your position and accepts it, or you change and maybe you begin to agree more with what the sister-in-law said. So we've got the difference between the Queen reversed here and the Knight upright. So any problems shown by this card are going to be resolved and it's going to be better. And that's what you're doing. You're looking at the cards that are here and telling a story or making sense of the cards that come up. You're not starting with what you think is right or what the person ought to do. You're looking at the card and allowing it, or allowing the card that came up. You're trusting that the right card came up for what you're going to talk about that's going to make sense to the questioner. So here we've got a queen, a king, a knight, and a reversed knight. So this future cooperation with people or with this individual is not going to last, because we've got a knight here upright, then we've got a knight reversed, as if you can, for a while you're going to get along with this individual or you're going to get along with people, but there's going to come a point where you want to expand, you want to explore the Knight of Batons, but either they're not going to agree or it's going to go badly. So maybe what you do here is when things are going well and you've got new ideas and you've got new directions you want to go in, rather than just assume that it's going to work out, don't do that. Think it through. Because if you charge ahead or leave the past behind, people are going to, it's not going to work. That's the way you think it is. So be careful when you want to move beyond what everybody is comfortable with the Knight of Batons reversed in the future. So we're putting together past, present, and future and telling a story from this particular line. We could then go with strength, the king, the Four of Batons, and the Eight of Batons reversed. We can do it that way. Or we can go here, strength, upright. So you became strong, you handled the situation well and learned from it, which puts you in charge. So now you've got different directions you can go in. So if you want, on the one hand, 10 is 1 plus nothing gets you back to 1 again. So, and here you can't see where the person in the card can't see where he's going. So maybe, yes, you're strong. Yes, you know what you're about. But at the same time, it's a good idea to stop and think through the direction that you want to go in. You will be successful because you're plodding on and you'll make it through hard work or through perseverance. But maybe what you ought to do is a good idea would be to stop, rearrange the burdens, rearrange what you're carrying, and then move on once you've got a clearer picture of what it is that you want to do. Or we go strength, the King of Pentacles, and the Four of Batons. So you became strong, you know what you're about, and you're going to be happy. Things are going to work out with you. Things are going to work out for you, and people welcome you. So if there was a problem with this individual, it was isolated. there was one person who didn't agree with you, but people generally will see your point of view, because here we've got a card of people welcoming. At the same time, we've got the Queen of Cups upside down, and we've got the Seven of Cups upside down here in the future. So maybe you go back and think about what this individual talked about, or what they told you, or what they suggested, or what they had in mind, because it's cups here, and it's a shorthand. It's cups here and cups reversed here. The situation, the difficulty here is going to come back in the future. You think it's resolved because now you're in good shape, but it's not as fixed up as you think it is. And you've got illusions about it. You've got strange ideas or unrealistic expectations. And this can go back to this Ten of Batons here. If you rearrange your burdens, or rearrange the stuff that you have to do, and also deal with ideas you've got that are maybe not realistic and down to earth, because we've got the cups here up in the air, then you're going to be better off. We could go with this Queen of Cups as if this represents a marriage partner or somebody, a close relative. Upside down, I'm looking at the Six of Swords here, because the Six of Swords shows movement away from a difficult situation, but it's upside down, as if, even though it's a different suit, we've got swords here in the past, so there was conflict. The Six reversed in the future. This is going to need to be looked at again, whatever this card represents, and you, the questioner, are going to know the kind of arguments that you had with people, or what went on between people. Somebody was hurtful, somebody was defeated, and you or somebody else had to comfort the other individual. That situation isn't fully resolved. It's not fully sorted out yet. Maybe because above this 5 is the devil. So there was a conflict, a difficulty, and somebody won, and they think they won, and they don't have to bother thinking about it again. That's not what's going to happen with the Six of Swords reversed here. That somebody won, and they won for a while, but it's not the end. It's only, there's a line in Bob Dylan, in the final end, he won the war after losing every battle. And it's a bit like, this is a battle that you lost, and you think you won, but it's not the final end yet. And so to go on from that, we've got the Knight of Pentacles reversed here, and we've got a King here, as if what you're sure about now is not going to be as obvious, or as you're not going to have as the same amount of confidence later as we go from here to here. Maybe because when you go through this, which is the Six of Swords reversed, things not going exactly the way you want, the need to rearrange. Yes, you're nice and kind and loving, and people like you, but you've got weird ideas about people or about what they want. And that's why this top line here of the future isn't that. You've got a couple of good things. You've got the 10 of coins, and you've got the 3 here, but you've got a reversed 8, a reversed knight, and a reversed knight. And so 10 of Pentacles here, and the King of Pentacles here. 10 is 1 plus 10. So what you figured out here, what you're confident about, what you're sure about here, that's going to tide you over for a while. But you're going to come to the point quite soon when you need to rethink and find a new beginning, because your values, what you know, what you care about, is going to keep you going for a while. But you're going to come to the point where you need to start again. In the light of what you've learned, begin again. Okay, so this would be a lot easier if there were a questioner who could respond to what's being said and ask you follow-up questions, because this Queen of Cups, they might say, okay, that sounds like my sister-in-law. What more can you tell me about the sister-in-law? So you go through it. You can go up this way. you can go here, here, and then you can go to here, depending on what makes sense. So you can look at each line, this is the past, and give a quick version of what the past was like. Look at these 5 and give a quick idea about what's going on in the present. And then a quick idea about what the future holds, and then what the future is going to develop into. So this develops into this, and this will develop into this, in the same way that the past developed into this, but especially the past made or created the significator card here, the King of Pentacles. Okay, that's one thing that you might like to try. And if you can do it with somebody, you can do it on your own. You could take it for you and decide what card represents you as the questioner, and choose that and put it in the middle of the second row, and lay 5, 5, and 5, and that's past, present, and future. And it gives you an idea of what was going on. And a reverse card can be something that you weren't aware of, or that is different from what you thought. And the same for the present. A reverse card can be something you're missing, and then the same for the future. So you could do that for you, and maybe what you do is you take a photograph of the layout and go back to it now and again as the future develops and things happen. You've then got a record, if you've got a photograph, of the cards that came up, and you've got a way of understanding what was shown, as well as understanding how to go about dealing with the future. And it'll also give you more insight into the significator card and what it actually represented. That was it. I don't know how long it was, but I'll see you again in a few days. And so there's a couple of other comments I need to reply to, and I'll make them in the next video. I'll try to leave a note in the comments section. Otherwise, I'll see you in a bit. Okay? Bye-bye.